In its latest Tugon ng Masa Party-list Preferential Survey, OCTA Research had 8 party list groups that are likely to bag at least one seat in the May election. Joining us this morning live at the BNC studio is the Chief Data Scientist of OCTA Research, Professor Guido David. Good morning, Professor Guido.
Good morning, Attorney Karen, and good to see you again. And hope you have had a happy New Year celebration.
I did, and it's nice to be back here. And ayan na, pinag-uusapan ng elections. And of course, OCTA Research's latest survey is also very insightful for voters to see sino yung mga party lists that are now leading. So first, can you give us an idea on the methodology behind this? The survey was taken for 7 days in November and had about 1,200 respondents that were face-to-face.
Yes.
How did you manage to do that?
Yeah, the survey methodology employs a multi-stage sampling. So yun yung mahalaga sa survey is the sampling method. So we choose randomly these barangays or the cities and the barangays and the households where we conduct the survey. And what I mean by the sampling is I can interview, for example, 1,200 students of mine in UP where I teach, but the sampling won't be good because I'm interviewing mostly a homogeneous group, which means more or less they're the same demographic, same age group. But if you're interviewing nationwide and it's randomly sampled, everyone has a chance to be interviewed. So even though it's 1,200. And I was looking at some surveys in the US, for example, during the election campaign period, and they had only 700 respondents for a 5% margin of error, and that was nationwide in the US with a population of about 300 million people. So this one, we did 1,200 respondents nationwide.
All the way up to Mindanao.
Yes, up to Mindanao, and the sampling error, the margin of error is just 3%. So hopefully, we can get a good estimate of what the public is feeling right now.
And based on party lists, some of them have their own bailiwicks. So for example, ako Bicol party list has a concentration of people voting for them in Bicol, or Tingog party list has a following in Leyte. How do you avoid having that ruin your randomization?
Well, it's inherent there that they have an advantage because they have a built-in base already. And you just talked to, for example, the HEAL PH nominees who happen to be my friends. I attended their launch, and they're not up to the other, like Ako Bicol, in terms of numbers,
yes,
because of the awareness is not yet there. So the sampling will still determine who are the more or less popular party lists. And this is, again, another issue of, a popularity thing. I mean, just like with the, if you're running for a senator, if you're not a known personality, it's going to be an uphill battle to get the numbers or the votes for senator. And ganun din sa party list, Attorney Karen. You have to have a level of awareness. And if you have, and it's not necessarily that because, Bicolanos will vote for Ako Bicol, because there are some party lists which cater to certain groups of people, but they're lower in numbers. So it's just more of the branding. Like Act-CIS is a well-known brand, and some of the other groups are, One Rider party list is fairly well-known. So some of these party lists can leverage the popularity of their group. Some of them have backings from, certain movements or sectors that will give them support. But again, if we go back to the results of the survey, a group like HEAL PH, and I think it was mentioned by Dr. Eric Tayag, they might have 0% in the current survey,
yeah,
but the margin of error is 3%, so it's between 0 and 3%.
Okay.
So that's what I'm.
So it's not really zero.
It could not. It's not necessarily zero because they will vote for themselves. I probably know some people who will vote for them. So, but of course, the challenge is how to build awareness for their group. And maybe...
Which is kind of ironic because the party list system constitutionally was built on representing underrepresented sectors. But now when it goes to the election, then it's really a question again of popularity. And now that we've talked about popularity, Act-CIS got 13% of the results in the preferential survey, which was the largest margin. What does this mean when you say 13% compared to all the other parties that got less than double digits? And of course, majority got 0.00.
Well, of course, Act-CIS will probably get several seats into Congress, and that's the implication of this. And they have a significant lead, even with a 3% margin of error. They would still be at least 10%, and probably enough to get 3 seats already. So it's an uphill battle for the other party lists. And you're right. I believe that when they framed the Constitution, the intent was for underrepresented groups, maybe minorities, stuff like that, can get representation. But now it's turning into something that's more of a popularity contest, and that's the challenge here.
And Act-CIS, which is the leading party list, is identified with the Tulfos, but it's currently the party list of Congressman Erwin Tulfo, who sits in Congress. And I saw a billboard in SLEX of Act-CIS where the pictures were Senator Raffy Tulfo and his wife. So clearly this is identified with the Tulfo family. Does this reflect on the strength of the Tulfo brand?
Definitely. We see that in the senatorial preference survey, they have the first 2 positions. And maybe if they fielded another Tulfo, they might even get another one. I mean, I don't know. There are possibilities. The Tulfo brand is currently strong. Of course, yung mga brands, sometimes some of them come and go. So we'll see how resilient the Tulfo brand is over the next few years.
Okay, but can you help me analyze also some of the survey results where we have number 2, Tingog party list, and this is identified with Speaker Martin Romualdez. The current representative in Congress for Tingog is the wife of Speaker Martin, Yeda Romualdez. But in the other surveys, in terms of approval ratings, the approval rating of Speaker Martin Romualdez has gone down. So how would you account for that, being identified with a certain individual but still ranking highly in the party list survey? And you have also a Bicol party list that's identified with Congressman Zaldico. So for people like ordinary voters, how do we make of this when it comes to the party list system? Do they get identified with certain individuals, or do they have an identity of their own?
I think they have an identity of their own. I mean, it's more of a branding, and I think they can get votes from certain bailiwicks or baluartes, and I think that's very important for a party list system. So even if your popularity is going down, it's not difficult still to get, like Tingog has 6% of the vote, and that's not a very large number, but that may be enough to get them 3 seats. So relatively, their popularity may have been affected, but if they're getting a significant number of votes in certain areas, like in Leyte or in Bicol region, they can definitely get more votes than lesser known party lists, like some of those we mentioned.
Mm-hmm. And when we're looking at this list, we have 4Ps as number 6 and Tupad as number 7. And these are also programs existing right now as ayuda. Do you think these 2 party lists have an undue advantage of having the names of ayuda programs of the government?
Yeah, actually, they do have that advantage, and I don't know how COMELEC is gonna, handle this. I mean, because technically, the voting public, and some of them are not very well aware of these. I mean, you go through the list of, the party list system. There are a lot of party lists there. And
Yeah,
it's
over
going to
150 now, no?
Yes, and I don't
Yeah.
blame the public if they become confused and then they will just find something that they can sort of identify with. And if this is something that, okay, I was helped by the ayuda system, so maybe I'll vote for this one. So there's an advantage. And, again, the COMELEC will have to see, if there's anything that should be done about this, because it does give an advantage. I mean, let's be transparent about it. It does give an advantage. If I didn't know anything better, I would just go for 4-piece because if it helps.
But I suppose when you said that there's also some branding that is distinct to each of the party lists, Bayan Muna now ranked number 9. It's in the next page of this. But in the past election, they didn't make it. They didn't get a seat in Congress. And I know that I think at that time, former President Duterte also campaigned against them. So do you think that this indicates that the Duterte endorsement is waning, or is this more of an issue that they have their own identity?
Well, I think it's a bit of both, but I think the endorsement is already declining. I mean, we see that in some of the other numbers that we're looking at in terms of the influence, the sphere of influence that they have. I mean, don't get me wrong, their influence is still formidable, especially in the southern parts of the country. But there's definitely some waning. But there are some opportunities for these other party lists, which have previously been, sort of maybe, getting less popular or getting less votes, but now they can make a comeback. And some of these other party lists also with their own built-in support groups, you see Akbayan there, number 8, they can still have their own support that hopefully that they can bring them enough votes
to get
some,
at least one seat.
seat.
And Professor Guido, when can we expect the next OCTA Research survey to come out? 2025 na, exciting. We're near the election.
Yes, it's getting near the election. We only have a few months to go. And in fact, we might be having a monthly survey. I mean, of course.
Wow. Meron na bang ongoing now as we speak?
Not yet,
survey.
because, of course, during the holidays, we don't do surveys. People are out on holidays. So, but I think this January, we're planning to have another survey and maybe another for February. So I can't promise that. Professor Ranjit will be the one to confirm that. But definitely, we need to have the data so that we can see any changes that could happen. For example, Heal PH, baka magkaroon ng dancing, mag-trending sa dance at TikTok si Dr. Eric, and that will help propel their brand. So who knows? I mean, a lot of things can still change. So this is not yet set in stone. So again, yung survey namin was conducted November pa. So when we ask the survey question, it's as of that time. So it's not predictive. So we don't know what will happen in May.
Well, we look forward to having monthly surveys, hopefully, and we look forward to seeing the results. Thank you so much, Professor Guido David.
Thank you.